Okay. The purpose of these calls, just for anybody who's watching, is in the school there are genius coaches, a lot of them. And there's some great stuff I've seen going on. And I thought, okay, how can I was just saying to Deryl before I hit record there, how can I get more value out of this? And consequently, how can I share even more value that I'm seeing? So one of the things that occurred to me to do was to reach out to people as I see like live, like utter what I would call utter genius going on, and say, can we talk about that? Any like 20 minutes or so. And so Deryl, you popped into my mind because I saw an exchange you were having. Was it with Alex?
I think it's probably with Rog. So
With
Raga.
Rag. Cool.
Yeah.
And it was essentially faster is there when you're able to see it, or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to pick your brain on today, because that some things just catch me and twig me, and that was one of them. So can you tell me more about what you saw in that and what's been going on for you?
Yeah. So this goes back to, I was probably 6 months into working with Kush, and things were going great. I was getting so much more out of the coaching than I bargained for. I hired him to help me grow my business, right? I had put systems in place. We had talked about client creation. We talked about enrollment, creating conversations, and all that was happening, and things were speeding up. Um, my marriage was getting better. Things were better with my kids. I was just showing up everywhere in my life better. And I saw that being a byproduct of our coaching. And I remember about 6 months in, I was telling him all this, everything I just told you. And I said, and I feel like I should be further along than I am. I feel like this should be going faster. I want
Yeah.
the business to grow. I want it all to be faster. Now, I was fully prepared for him to tell me that this is just my thinking, that this is just
Yeah.
how all entrepreneurs want it. Like, I was so prepared. I'd
You were
almost
ready for slow down.
predetermined that's how it was going to go. And he didn't. Instead, he said, faster is available to you. He said, Daryl, faster is available.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was one of those moments.
Can I just pause you there, right?
Yeah.
Because I want one of the things I want to do in these discussions is the content is awesome, right? Even in the first 30 seconds, which you just rattled off as a kind of like throwaway intro to what you were going to see, even in the first 30 seconds, for somebody, me definitely, just what you described as what you did. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. That's going to twig something for somebody. Just how you rattled that away. So I almost wanted to pause you, but I thought I got to let the bloke get 30 seconds in before I go, hang on a sec, right? But what I really want people to hear is, and I'm kind of marinating in the energy. So I hit pause at a point where your energy was so excited, and I know what's going to come next is going to be so excited, even though I don't know what's coming next. So I just wanted to draw everybody into and give myself a bit of time as well. I'm like pouring myself a hot tub of Daryl right now. And I'm about to slide. I'm about to. Does that sound odd? I'm sorry. I'm about weirdest analogies.
I'm just going to chalk that up to cultural differences.
Yeah, great. Oh, yeah, please do. Yeah, yeah. Whatever excuse you need to give me, I'm just grateful for. So I'm going to do something deeply appropriate to marinate in the feeling where this is all going to come from, and I just wanted to pause and give everybody this chance to do the same, because it's the feeling that's going to take us through what you said and make it implementable.
Yeah.
The content alone is beautiful. It's gorgeous. I could trip out on it all day. When you said systems, my brain went, oh, systems. Let's talk to Daryl about systems. So there's like a whole other video. Anyway, shut up, Dave. Go on.
Yeah. So look, faster, when we've all been around Kush to the point that when he says faster is available to you, you kind of brace yourself, right? Like, we experienced him in the school saying, are you open? And you kind of brace yourself because you know it's coming.
Yeah. The answer is no, but it's coming
anyway. That's right. So I knew I was about to get punched in the mouth in the most loving way.
Yeah.
And he told me a story about a shift that he made in his business earlier in his journey. And I thought to myself, I'm paying this guy a lot of money, so I can really dumb this thing down and slow this thing down and ask, Okay, I hear your story. I can pull gold from it. And what is the shift? You tell me there's a shift I need to make. Just tell me the shift. And he said, well, like I did, you have to shift from treating your business like a glorified hobby and treat it like a business. And it was interesting, Dave, because we talked about the idea of this, and he talked about some things he saw in his world and some things he's seen with other coaches. Here's what that meant for me. Here's what I saw. I'll be honest. So in the spirit of slowing down, I was terrified when he said it, because I thought this was the moment that he was going to tell me I had to do all the thing that real business people did. You know, I would have to have, you know, T charts and you know, reporting and all these things I just was resistant to. And it turned out it was none of that. I really thought he was going to be introducing me to all the parts of the business that I intentionally kept out because I didn't enjoy them or want to do them.
Yeah.
And it turned out it wasn't that, which was great news for me. What I saw for me is that I was good at creating conversations. And when I got in conversations with people, I served them powerfully. Right? They often wanted more. They wanted to know what it looked like to keep working together. They wanted the next conversation. Yeah. The hobbyist in me was only creating conversations and only serving people when I felt like it.
Oh, wow.
When I felt like it. So I would get up and I would come in front of my computer and, you know, if I had some space, well, do I feel like writing a Facebook or a LinkedIn post? Do I feel like serving people in the comments? Do I feel like replying to do I feel like looking for the next opportunity to get onto my calendar? And when I felt like it, I did it and it worked. And when I
Can I
didn't
just
feel
add
like
there
it, I
for
would
people
find other
watching?
things.
Yeah, for people watching, you just heard a masterclass in how to use social media to generate conversation. And again, it could have gone so quickly because you're just like beautifully telling your story. But if people just wind back there, literally 30, 45 seconds, you'll hear, because people often say to me, oh, so what would I do on social media? You just described it perfectly. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. And I realized that what we talked about, look, I've had jobs. A lot of us have worked for other people or been employees at some point. And the analogy Kush and I discussed was this idea that if I was responsible for creating revenue in a business, and we are all responsible for creating revenue in our business, and our boss knocked on our office door and said, hey, Deryl, what are you doing today to create revenue? And my response was like, you know, I didn't get great sleep last night. And, you know, the kids have just they've been a handful lately, and the calendar is kind of crazy. And I need to I just don't think I'm up for it today. Yeah. You know, I'm willing to bet that wouldn't be our last conversation, that he or she would have something else to say. And
Fire.
yet that was exactly what I was doing in my business, right? I was doing it when I felt like it. And so I saw that it wasn't about me changing my systems. It wasn't about me adding anything new. It wasn't about me doing it differently. It was simply about me take the stuff that's working for you and do it consistently. Create some metrics, create some goals, create some standards for you. And what I did was I did that over a week. And I simply said, it wasn't overcomplicated, Dave. It was literally, how many conversations can I create? I want to create 10 conversations a week. Right? And those 10 conversations can only be two things. They are conversations with a paying client, meaning a coaching session, or they are conversations with somebody who could become a paying client. Right? And for me, that means they're a connection call, right? So you think about the process. We're connecting or reconnecting. I've invited them into a coaching session. I'm coaching somebody that is not yet a client. And then it could be my coaching sessions with clients. And when I looked back over the last several weeks, I was just curious because I said, okay, I've set this metric at 10. Let me see what I've been doing. Yeah. And it was 5. I've been averaging about 5 of those conversations a week. I talked to my clients bi-weekly. I'd mix in a few calls with potential clients here and there, and I was doing about 5. So just taking this to 2 a day, which kind of sidebar, when we settled on 5, I was like, oh, I'm 10, I'm going to do 15. And then I realized how much is in it. Like I tried that
Yeah.
for a few weeks and I was like, 10 sounds really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And then suddenly my weeks were 10, 11, 12, 10, 10, 11. And that consistency. So the first thing is creating a standard of what it looks like to treat my business like a business, right? To hold myself to a standard, to go create that. Right. And there's all the stuff you just pointed to, the creating the conversations, the inviting people in, the reconnecting with people in my network, whatever we're doing to create conversations, get them on the calendar. My goal is to have 10 of those on the calendar each week. And once that started happening, and once I did that consistently, everything began to speed up.
I
That
just
was
thought
the
of a
shift.
beautiful thing there, which I'm going to do for my group, which is setting up your calendar for success.
Yeah.
So this comes from watching Michael's laser
Mm,
session, you know, where they went through
yeah.
his diary like live. I'm thinking actually, if you like to help people steer into this, if you go to say, let's say you're going to do some creation at Monday 9 o'clock, block that out
Mm-hmm.
so that you're set yourself up, because I think the more it's like getting ready for the gym or something, isn't it? The more prep you put in, the more likely you are to be able to lift the weight you want to lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all in the prep.
You know, what I've seen as I've shared this over the past year and a half to clients, to other coaches, is that we all have a version of this. We all
Yeah,
have a
totally.
way, and it may not be the same as mine, but we all have a way that we are approaching our business as a
Yeah,
glorified hobby. We're coming
yeah.
from this place of, what do I feel like doing, or what do I want to? Um, and it's holding us back and slowing us down. So it's been fascinating talking to people across industry about what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you? In what ways are you treating your business like a glorified hobby? And what changes on the other side of making that shift into treating it like a business?
So, and I love that you said that, actually, because as a kind of an adjunct, you could so comfortably sit down with a business leader or a divisional leader and talk about where hobbyism is
Mm-hmm.
playing out in their own division, in their own teams, in their own behavior, that of the broader section. So I love the transferability of that. I've never done that, actually. I've never thought about that angle. I've talked about performance in another way, but it's a really interesting way of reframing, you know, professionalism or commitment to standards. I love how you said set a standard. That's a really nice phrase. That
You
I like the
mentioned
phrase.
transferability. Can I share one more thing on
Yeah,
transferability?
yeah. You can talk to me all day, mate.
The A lot of us, right, we love coaching around insight. And
Yeah,
what was fascinating for me, this was 2022 when Kush and I had this conversation, and I saw it in the business and I saw what changed.
yeah,
And then I saw that who I was being in the business is who I was being everywhere in my life. Like, this was the thing that was slowing me down on every important goal that I had. Right? What I wanted to do with my health and fitness. I realized that I would set these goals. I would say, I'm going to eat like this. I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week. And then the morning would come and suddenly I'm tired. My body needs sleep, right?
yeah,
Or yesterday was really tough and I'm really sore. I don't feel like going to the gym and I wouldn't. Or I'm going to eat a certain way. I'm going to have a way of eating. And then I would go to an event and they've got a beautiful spread out on the table. And in the moment, I feel like eating whatever's in front of me and it's not serving my long term goals. And I really saw that this shift that first showed up in my business was available to me everywhere. And that's what created 2023, this year, to be my word for the year has been commitment. Because
yeah,
I've been working, my goal this year has been to have more and more and more of my actions coming from a place of commitment
yeah.
rather than a place of feeling. Right. So I want my actions to be driven by the commitments I make to what I want to create rather than how I feel in the moment.
So
Because
what
how I
I'm
feel in the
hearing
moment is
in that,
unpredictable.
yeah, that's amazing. What I'm hearing in that is that, and I would describe it as energetic. Yeah, somebody would call it a way of being, energy, whichever word works for people.
Yeah.
You had, or you uncovered, a way of being of what you were committed to was non-commitment.
Mhm.
That was the standard you were maintaining in many areas of life.
Yeah.
That transpired in business as the hobbyist syndrome, which I know many entrepreneurs, coaches recognize. Eating all over the place.
Mhm.
Not going to the gym. So that because we're always committed to something.
Mhm.
It's never that there isn't commitment. There's always commitment in there. It's only ever a question of what the commitment is. And it takes me back to that phrase I heard Kush say, and it's something like, every result has a perfect system. So when we start to tie these things together, you can really see if the underlying pattern is a commitment to non-commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Just
well
not
said.
like,
It's a really
yeah,
cool way to look at it, and spot
yeah,
on.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
and I love that. It's every system, like we're always running the perfect system to get the
For the
results we're
results.
getting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And there's something quite, I don't know, like liberating and impersonal about that. Because
Big
it
time.
can get really sort of quaggy, can't it? Like, oh no, this is that again. I'm doing that. I find I can get drawn into those stories. Whereas just seeing it as a system, it's like, oh, okay, I've got a system. And it starts like this. The eyes open, and I look at my schedule, but actually I pattern interrupt and go, no, I don't feel like that today. Then I generate a feeling internally that supports that narrative. Then I bring in another story from when I was 2 and someone ignored me in my pushchair or some shit. And by the time I've done that, I've successfully talked myself out of my commitment. So I've maintained my commitment to that whole network of bullshit
Yeah.
in order to dodge what I'd actually really like to achieve and bring into the world.
And then we throw on we throw on a whole load of self-judgment afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, and then we get to work really hard at letting go of it. It's
That's
just
right.
brilliant. It just, you can go on for days. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. So is there anything else you'd like to add about that? I mean, that just what you've shared there, there's more content in there than it's a book on its own.
Yeah, no, man. I think what's beautiful about this stuff, and so much of what we talk about, is the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
that
hear
this
that.
isn't, there's not a ton to figure out. I'm willing to bet that by the time this recording ends, anybody who's watched it will see a place in their business
Totally.
and probably in their personal lives where they're showing up
Yeah.
committed to not being committed to the
Yeah.
things they say they want, committed to the long term, right? Where they're
Yeah.
operating from a place of feeling, where they're choosing a hobbyist approach over treating it
Yeah.
like a business.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. Thanks, Daryl. I'm going to pause
Yeah,
it
man.
there.
Thanks for this. This was fun.
You're welcome.